They fired me months ago. Most of my meals still come from their break room. I used to work at a small ice rink as a Zamboni driver. I'm a broke college kid, and a few of the other employees were broke college kids, so they often had pizza, hot dogs, ramen, and things of that nature in the break room. The thing is, they fired me in December. By that I mean they never said I was fired, but they never scheduled me for any more hours and completely ghosted me. In doing that, though, they never told me to give my keys back. The keys that opened the break room. So every week I bring a Tupperware, go through the back entrance, and steal as much food as I can. What can I say? I'm jobless and can't afford food. There's no cameras. Who's gonna stop me? I technically work there. I'm invincible and my food comes from their wallet. Left driver of jacked up truck stranded when we were pumping gas. I was pumping gas, left it running, and then started cleaning the bugs from my windshield. It was that time of year. This truck had pulled up behind me, and the driver was an impatient asshole. He got out of his truck and walked up to the fuel handle. Gas was still running. He shut it off, pulled nozzle out of my car, and put it back in the pump station and told me he was helping me get out of the way. I was on the passenger side of car. I was startled and starting to walk back around to confront the guy. My son, 17 years old at the time, had been in the store and was walking back to the car when he saw what was going on. He walked over, said, "Dad, just leave, okay?" So I walked back around, got in, and started driving away, feeling like I may have avoided an ass whipping. But as soon as we drove away, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a keychain. The guy had left his door open, and while he was focused on me, my son had reached in and grabbed the keychain out of the ignition to his truck. As we pulled out of the parking lot, we saw him running towards us. We drove about a half mile from there, and I pulled over into a parking lot and walked over to the curbed main street and tossed his keys into storm drain. Must have been 8 or 9 keys on there, so I'm sure he had fun replacing all that. I give customers more food as a McDonald's employee. That's pretty much it. I make sure that customers get their money's worth. I make the McFlurries full and add a good amount of sauce. I make sure the fries are as full as possible, and sometimes I give the sauces away for free. I once put about 14 nuggets in a 9-piece box. I genuinely don't care anymore. I think the job is fun and stuff, but it's taken way too seriously. They haven't taught me how to work the grill and how to make the burgers yet, but to be honest, that's for their own safety at this point. I smoke weed and watch movies every night at work. I work as an overnight security guard for a massive outdoor shopping center, and my job is literally pointless. The job only exists so they can post those big signs advertising that the shopping center has armed security in hopes of those signs deterring criminals. If someone actually tries to do anything, all I'm supposed to do is lock myself in the security office and call 911. The only work I actually do is telling people not to have sex in their cars in the parking lot, which happens way more often than you think, and the nightly system audit that I have to run. The audit takes 30 minutes to an hour, so for the other 7 hours, I just smoke weed and watch movies. I know for a fact my boss doesn't care because he told me he was high on my second day of training. He was even the one who told me I could just watch movies or whatever when it was slow, long as I checked the cameras periodically. I can't help but feel a little bit bad, but at the same time, it's not like there's a ton of work that needs to be done. Sometimes I hit reply all on purpose, just to watch the chaos. At work, whenever someone sends out a mass email that clearly should have just gone to one person, I get a little evil and hit reply all with something totally pointless like, "Thanks," or "Got it." Every time it sets off this chain reaction of at least 10 other people doing the same thing, and I sit back and watch the flood of unnecessary emails roll in. It's petty, but honestly, weirdly satisfying. Sorry, coworkers. I work at a bank, and I give people different flavored lollipops on purpose. Remember when you were a kid and your mom would drive through the bank and you got lollipops? I know my brother and I always used to fight over the flavors, especially blue raspberry or cotton candy, and we hated root beer and butterscotch. If I have a parent come through my line and they're particularly rude, I will give them 2, or whatever amount, differently flavored lollipops. I hope their kids fight over them. I gave someone a root beer and blue raspberry combo the other day. I want to see the world burn. I walked into a bank and just robbed it years ago. Years ago, I was in a tough spot. Very tight on money, had a decent job, but with my divorce, mortgage, car payments, child support payments, and all other expenses, I only had like $25 to my name in my checking account. I went to the bank and needed $100 in singles, not for a strip club. Went to the bank and the guy in front of me made a big deposit, gave the teller a lot of $20 bills and other bills to buy mainly $20 bills. When it was my turn, I asked for 100 single and gave them $100. She counted out 100 bills and handed it to me, but instead of ones, she gave me $120 bills. She counted it out again and put it in an envelope and handed it to me. I took it and just left. I justified it because, at the time, the government was bailing out banks with millions of dollars, so I figured that was my bailout money. The money really helped me out, but I know I basically robbed the bank of $1,900. I broke my left arm on purpose, and it did the job. When I was 12, I broke my arm, wrist intentionally by falling on the stairs at school. I had been really dizzy and having a lot of headaches, and I was fairly sure I needed glasses, but my mom wouldn't listen or take me to the eye doctor for some reason. I had broken my right wrist already, so I knew what it felt like, and I knew if I was more severely injured, they'd be forced to address the situation. I knew I needed to do it at school when there were cameras and witnesses and no one could accuse my parents of anything sinister, so I waited for a day when I knew one of my teachers would let me leave mid-class to go to a different floor. I threw myself up the stairs, tore a bunch of cartilage in my elbow, shattered my growth plate in my wrist, and got an eye doctor appointment. I was already an injury-prone kid. ADHD, spatial awareness for the win. This did not get massively better, unfortunately, LMAO. So no one questioned it. I hated my glasses. Think aggressively unsexy librarian. But I needed them, and as much as I regret the lengths I went to, I'm glad I got them finally.